moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us when we went to our break. Of course, we are going to begin conversations immediately in studio this morning, and we start off the conversation by speaking with Corporal Vincent Carva, Corporal of the TTPS Traffic Branch. Vincent Carva, and this morning we want to talk a little bit about adjustments to the traffic violation fines and demerit points. You recently would have seen in the news, I think it was on the 18th, if my data is correct, the adjustments were made there. So we're going to go through the paces of that conversation. Good morning, Corporal, and welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Of course, before we get into the adjustments to the violations, fines, we want to talk a little bit about what the previous fines were, and of course, the reasons, because we know that there are a lot of, how do I put it, traffic violations taking place because of human behavior. You want to get to where you want to go fast. You want to take all the shortcuts. You want to overtake somebody and all of these things. You want to drive without your seatbelt and all of these things, right? And this is the reason now why we have to implement rules and laws so that we could keep people in a place of, good behavior, so to speak. So tell us some of the things that can cause someone to receive a fine in terms of violation of the traffic laws and operating a motor vehicle.
All right. Good morning again. How should I put this? Human behavior. Because in some cases, there are persons who will habitually commit fines because they don't care. Is that human behavior in terms of you're lazy. You don't want to walk. You feel you're just going to take 10 seconds to do something, and in 10 seconds, somebody could die. In 10 seconds, somebody could live. And in 10 seconds, you could get a ticket. And in some cases, instead of saying, okay, officer, I'm sorry, do what you want. So it's human behavior that causes you to get a ticket in most cases. You understand me? Mm-hmm. But the ministry has decided fit to reduce some of these fines anyway in an effort to encourage people to pay their tickets and ease up the court system, as to say. Because instead of paying $1,000, in some cases, it's $500.
But before I get
to that,
before I get to how much you'd have to pay for certain fines, I want to talk about specific fines. Mm-hmm. There's a fine. Let's say there's a fine for not wearing a seatbelt. There's a fine. So those things are what I want to go through so that we understand what the fines are for, and then we will talk about how much you pay for a specific violation and demerit points, as it were. All
right. What I observed so far, at least, is that most of the traffic violations in terms of traffic signs, which were $1,000, has been reduced. Breach of a traffic sign like no parking or waiting, those fines were reduced. Breach of a traffic order, that is the temporary no parking signs, like the little blue signs we put along the road, like in case of some emergency or to divert traffic. Those were reduced also. Breach of a traffic order made by a minister or licensing or commissioner of police were also reduced. Also, the demerit points were reduced also. Those are the violations that were reduced. But breach of a traffic light remained the same. Because as I would have explained in previous times, you break a traffic light, you kill somebody, and they saw it fit that this is more serious, that they decided to leave it just as it is until further notice.
Of course, having priority there on some of the restrictions and violations. So let's talk now as to what these charges were. Mm-hmm. And we mentioned one of them was 1,000, it went down to 5 or something. But let's talk about what they were and the reduction now.
All right. The breach of a traffic sign was $1,000, and that has been, and 3 demerit points, that has been reduced to $500 and 2 demerit points. Mm-hmm. So at least that's sort of easier for most of the unfortunate members of public who were charged by the police.
The thing for me, right, is we've been speaking on this station, of course, as it relates to crime. Let's bring this into context here. As it relates to crime, are we talking about the law and the enforcement of the law being a sort of a challenge, enforcing the law being a challenge? And now here we have a system where we put in place, you are going to be fined for traffic violations. You are going to be fined if you break the road traffic signs, if you, whatever the violations are, you're going to be charged. And now because a man is crying, oh gosh, a whole $1,000 for that, we are reducing it. So I feel as if we kind of compromising standards. And I feel as if, what if somebody cries out and says the 500 is still too much? Would we reduce it to 200? Would it be reduced to 0 and just do what you want? Is that going to be, and you know, I'm very, very sorry that I have to take that angle this morning, but that is my position where that is concerned. If you make a judgment, if you make a rule, if you make a law, why are you compromising on the law to facilitate and accommodate persons who are crying out, it is too much? Then do the right thing.
I quite agree with you. But we are trying our best to encourage the persons them by telling them, okay, we've heard your cries, as the case may be, and we're going to reduce the fine, reduce the demerit points in an effort to say, okay, let us compromise, you are to compromise, and think about yourself. This is just a test, you know. This is just a test. And if it is, after this, you still continue, well, who knows? They may raise it again to, instead of $1,000 to $1,500. So let's see where it goes there. Okay,
so the traffic, the fine for breaking a traffic light, what is the fine?
$1,000.
Right.
Same $1,000.
And it could be 5, but all right. All right, we will leave it.
And again, to better edify the public, even a speeding ticket, it all depends on how fast you go. The faster you go, the higher the fine. So let me say you go 5 kilometers above the speed limit, it's $1,000. 10 kilometers above the speed limit is $1,500. And the faster you go, the higher it goes.
I see some vehicles on the nation's roads operating like jets. So I'm hoping that, you know, something could be put in place to monitor, because I know obviously the police can't be everywhere at all times. Okay. I mean, we'd have to line the streets with police to ensure that we can, you know, capture those violators. But in terms of systems, CCTV cameras, I know in other countries, in the more developed countries, the cameras will record, and it will usually generate some type of, you know, after looking at the registration, the license, you know, registration number and stuff like that, they can generate the tickets for the charge, you know, and I'm hoping that we can get there. I don't know what is the status right now, where that is concerned in terms of any type of CCTV footage, or is it only used when an incident is reported?
Well, as it stands now, we are presently upgrading the system, and we are using it basically in case of an RT or a road traffic accident, you know. But they have the system in Trinidad, and hopefully soon we'll have the system in Tobago, where they have cameras that will, the moment you go through a red light, take a picture, and that ticket will be sent straight to the owner, the registered owner. So you as the owner will say, okay, well, you break a traffic light with my car, come pay that. But that it's ongoing. Hopefully, it will be here hopefully by 2025, which will ease a lot of stress that you will have encountered on the national roadway.
And since the implementation, I want to talk about the demerit points a little bit now. Since the implementation, I think about 2-3 years ago, of the demerit point system for violations, have you seen, or the TTP, when I say you, I mean the TTPS, have you seen a decrease in, you know, irresponsible behavior, as it were, in terms of driving and possessing a registered driver's permit, driver's license? Have you seen a reduction in that type of behavior?
Yes, a slight reduction. But we have seen an increase now with the same demerit system of persons driving without a driver's permit, because when you reach a certain amount of demerit points, you lose your license for a certain period. And some persons would take a chance and risk it by driving to go right there. And some of my members of staff, thanks to them, we are right there to catch them in the act of that, because we know who they are. Because in our system, we will see from licensing exactly persons who do not have a license, or who was, at least a license was taken or disqualified, as the case may be.
Okay,
So we have it on system.
Right, and I was just about to ask, is there a database
Yes, we
to
do.
collect this? And as you mentioned earlier on when you were introducing the topic, you spoke about it only takes 10 seconds for something to happen.
Exactly.
And somebody who their license have been suspended for the demerit points or whatever, taking a little chance, it could lead to something, even more
Come to our
catastrophic.
license, you get an accident now. Serious charges.
That's
You're driving without driver's permit is an arrestable offense. And we charge you for also driving without a certificate of insurance because it goes hand in hand. You can't drive and say, officer, I forget my insurance home, No. Automatically disqualifies that license. The same thing, you don't have the driver's license, you don't have an insurance, it goes hand in hand. Because the officers will ask you, produce your driver's permit and certificate of insurance. They go hand in hand.
And I'm happy that you brought up that topic in terms of, I forgot my insurance at home. First of all, your insurance is supposed to reside in your vehicle. It's not supposed to come out of your vehicle. Right? Your driver's license, might be in your wallet or your purse, so it moves on your person. I've heard in the past, I don't know if it's a myth, where if you are driving, and let's say, for instance, you took your driver's license out of your wallet to do transact some business and you forget it home, and you're driving, police say, driver's license and insurance, please. Oh, shucks, I forget my driver's license home. Is it the same as forgetting your insurance home? Because some people say, you have 24 hours to produce it at the police station. So I want to clear that up right now, and ensure that the public has the information when that is concerned.
Well, the law states, and I'm quoting from the law, that by rights, if you're driving without your driver's permit and the officer stops you, the officer has two choices. One, to detain you and ask you to get somebody to bring it for you because we can't go for it and come back because you'll be continuing the offense. And when I mean detain, we can arrest you because everybody has an excuse for everything. And the quickest excuse, oh gosh, I forget my driver's permit home. So you can say, all right, leave the vehicle there, go for it, and bring it back for us, please. Or we detain you, take possession of the vehicle, and take it to the court. Let the court tell you, could you produce it? Yes, your worship. I have somebody at home who will bring it for me. You understand me? But by rights, we are supposed to arrest you. You have a choice, and it's only based on the officer's discretion. If you leave your vehicle, go and get your driver's permit and return.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That myth has been clarified. You don't have no 24 hours. You have to produce it on site. Once you have taken control of a motor vehicle, you must have in your possession a valid driver's license and insurance. So let us not take these things for granted because they can impact the way we operate on the roads. As the corporal said, if something should happen, you have to be able to kind of manage it. You have to be able to have your insurance. What if something happens? Your insurance is what keeps you covered. If I may say, and I really hope that people will be a little bit more responsible where that is concerned. Right. So let's talk about demerit points now. Explain to me how many demerit points you start off with.
Some cases 14 points. And as the offenses go, like especially for the traffic signs over which was 3, is now 2. You get a ticket, 3 points come off your license. The moment it reaches 10 to 11 points, there's a little indicator that says on the system that, okay, one more ticket, that's it. If you don't have those points, at the point maybe is that we have a message from licensing to come and say, these persons, their license, no more. There's a red tag on it. Even though the license, you can't transact no business because you have a red tag on it. Hey, hello, but you didn't pay some tickets a while ago. I paid my tickets. On our system says, no, it's still pending. So, how are you clarifying that? So we arrest you one time. No points, no license.
So when the points are taken off your license and you get up to 10, 11 thereabout, right? Is it that your license is suspended or is it taken away from you totally and you're not?
No.
So talk us through that process.
Well, once you have exhausted your points, is that they will suspend your license and they give you an opportunity at least a certain time. You can go and apply to a licensing authority. You can apply to them and they will say, okay, to get back your license, you have to go through a driving test. At your cost of your cost, you have to pay for a driving test, a defensive driving test. And upon completion of that successfully, then you'll pay for your license. So the cost is on you So you have to pay for your license, to get back your license, pay for the test, and pay to get back the license again.
Why you want to put yourself through all of this?
Thank you very much.
Why we want to put ourselves through all of this, viewers? Why, let us try to be. I know sometimes there are urgent situations where, okay, you might have to increase your speed. Let's say, for instance, you have to get to the hospital. Sometimes, when I'm driving on the road sometimes and I see some people speeding past me, right? And I'm driving at just about 80. That's the speed limit on the highways, right?
In some parts of the highways.
In some parts of the highways, 80. And I'm driving just about 80 or just about under 80. And I see people overtaking me. They have to be driving over 80. Because if I'm going at 80 and you're overtaking me, they're not heading towards the hospital. So where they're going, that's the only time in my mind I give somebody some grace when they're speeding. Maybe they're trying to get to the hospital. But if you're not heading in the direction of the hospital, where you're going with all that speed, and sometimes you're not able to see how far, or you're not able to see, you might have a little incline coming up, or a slight corner, a slight bend, and here you are overtaking, driving speed, sometimes not wearing your seatbelt, and you have passengers in your car. What is the police, the TTPS, doing, in the Tobago instance, in terms of trying to track this type of behavior? I know that we've been seeing more police presence, but in terms of issuing fines, issuing tickets where this is concerned, have you seen an increase in being able to identify persons who violate or cause traffic offenses?
Yes, we have. Because, as I said before, there are a lot of persons habitually in the habit of committing these offenses, actually, And I will say good morning to my inspector, Miss Piggott, is that sometime on morning she's traversing from her home to the station, and somebody will indiscriminately overtake or dangerously overtake her. And she will follow them in her private vehicle and pull up next to them and stop and say, hello, reach me in the station now, please. And she will bring them to the station, we issue the ticket. We'll issue the ticket. So I would say, I will commend her if it's one thing. When she sees it, she's a no-nonsense woman. She stops you and says, okay, come. You're driving like a fool, you come.
I know another officer who has that same type of, passion for his job. And I'll give you an example, just as you've given me one. One time, the officer was heading west, right on the highway, just on top of Works Hill there. And, when you come out of Signal Hill from that thing, you're supposed to turn left to head into Scarborough to head east.
Yes.
Someone was coming down and they came around and was heading west. And the officer was wasn't in a police vehicle, was in a private vehicle. And he pulled the vehicle aside and pulled the guy and said, hey, stop. The guy did not know he was an officer because, you're going your way, looking to see who driving what. And he pulled him up on the highway and he said, let me tell you something. And the transaction took place there. And this is people taking chances. How would you come down? In fact, there's a barrier there. At the time, there are barriers there. Why would you want to swing around that? And there's traffic people coming up, heading into Scarborough, and you're trying to make that U-turn to come around.
And you got to get charged with dangerous driving. You can't get charged with that. Is dangerous driving. There's a reason why they turn the traffic that way, to proceed east. And they clearly indicated it by putting the same demarcations on the road, and you're turning right to go west. That is dangerous driving.
I don't know. I need people to understand the importance of being safe when you're driving. Sometimes something might miss you. In a vehicle there's a blind spot. You can't see every single thing. Like when you're trying to turn the edges of the vehicle, sometimes there might be a blind spot. You have to approach with caution. You can't be taking chances on the road. You're taking a chance with your life and the lives of other persons. So I'm hoping that after this airing, that people can really reflect on the way they do things. And we've become such a self-absorbed and selfish society that sometimes we take a lot of things for granted. And I know there's much more that we have to talk about where this is concerned. But we have to go for a short break, viewers, before we continue conversations this morning in studio with Corporal Carva Vincent this morning as we talk about traffic violations, the fines, demerit points on your driver's permit as well. So stay with us. You can leave your comments on our Facebook live stream. If you have questions, you can also submit them there and we'll try to attend to them while we are on air. But in the meantime, we have to go for a short break before we continue conversations. And as we go, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and thank you so much for staying with us. We continue conversations this morning with Corporal Carva Vincent as we speak about Vincent Carva, as we speak about the adjustment to the traffic violation fines and the demerit points. And we were talking about earlier. You mentioned your license being flagged and being unable to do transactions at licensing. When you receive these fines and you have to pay because you have points on your license, is there a period in which you have to pay? Is there like you have to pay it within 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, or is it up to how you are able to make the payments?
You have up until at least a month to pay that ticket. Failure to pay that ticket, a fine of 25% goes on the ticket. So instead of $1,000, you have to pay $1,250. After that period has expired now, you have to pay an additional 25%, which the ticket goes up to $1,500. If you haven't paid the ticket at the end of those periods, is that you go to do some level of transaction, change the ownership of a vehicle, to renew a license. They'll come on the screen and say that, hello, you have outstanding tickets to pay. They will flag it, a red tag will go on your system and your name. And before you could do any transaction to licensing, you have to clear that first. Clear it off completely.
And once you clear it off, it means that you have paid for your demerit points and you could get back operation of your license.
The demerit points last 2 years. 2 years. So if you get a ticket today and they take off 2 demerit points, that lasts 2 years. Not like some people would say, okay, if I get 5 tickets this year, that the demerit points all got cleared 2 years. No. You get a ticket today, it starts from today, 2 years from today. You get a ticket tomorrow, start from tomorrow, 2 years from tomorrow, and so it goes.
All right, you don't want to keep getting
exactly.
Points on your ticket. In terms of traffic violation tickets for this year, with the introduction of the demerit points, of course, it's supposed to be a deterrent, right? What is the comparison between last year and this year?
Comparison, this year so far, we have about 2,000 tickets issued so far, in comparison to last year, which was close to 3,000. So there's a slight reduction. Some persons who are law-abiding will say, not me again, me ain't get no ticket, so I be myself. Put my seatbelt, me park up here, I go walk in Scarborough. But there are some persons, for some strange reason, and again, human behavior, they get tickets continuously, habitually committing all kind of offenses.
And how they still have a driver's license is what I'm trying to find out. And talking about parking, right? I have a few issues with parking. Sometimes you see clearly written, no parking. And then you see a vehicle parked there, and I'm like, one is either they can't see, and if they can't see, then they shouldn't be driving, right? And so for me, it's a challenge. The other thing that is very disturbing, the disability parking spaces. You see them at the supermarkets and, other places where persons have to do transactions. Persons with slight disabilities can still drive, or they have a driver that will take them around. And so the spaces are there for them, ease of getting into and out of their vehicle. And that's why the parking spaces are a little bit bigger. And many a times I have seen persons parking in the space, coming out of the vehicle, normal, nothing wrong with them. They have no disability that would cause them to have to use the parking space. And then somebody who needs it will roll up after it's unavailable because somebody decide, well, nobody really disabled, so I can use the space. I want to talk about the violation there, and I want to talk about the charge, the fine, and what can happen to that specific person.
All right. What the pause that be, which it's a plus for the disabled, is that now we can charge persons for parking in that marking for that area designated for disabled persons. And that fine is now $2,000. So that's a plus for the disabled. So encourage persons not to park up in the disability parking. $2,000. Not $1,000 a normal ticket, or as they reducing out to $500, $2,000. And 3 demerit points. 3 demerit points. Also, which is a minus to the disabled also, is that you have to have some kind of signage, some kind of a permit to say that, okay, you can park in disability parking. If you see you return it because you get invalid or you get defaced and you return it, you could get a ticket for that also. And the fine is small, it's just $300. But fail to display a disability parking permit on your vehicle, like, okay, like, let me say you have to drive somebody that is disabled. You have to get a permit, affix it to your vehicle, so you are now allowed to park up in that area, waiting that person to come back from your little business and so forth. If you don't have it displayed, that is $750. No demerit points though. No demerit points. If you fail to return an invalid or a disability parking permit also, $300, no demerit points. But you're still getting tickets for that also. But just if you park up in the disability, again, I want to emphasize it, you park up in that area, it is $2,000 and 3 demerit points. So it's a serious violation.
And how do you, in terms of applying for the permits, is it that the person who has the disability has to apply, or could it be like a person who is responsible in terms of a driver or a chauffeur applying for the permit on behalf of the person? How does that work?
Well, you apply, but you have to get like a medical certificate and you go to licensing and apply for that permit. You know, because in some cases the person himself cannot really go to licensing to do the transaction, but you can go on their behalf with a medical from a doctor to see that, okay, this person cannot walk, this person is, you know, some kind of disability.
Some
yes,
type of, right.
Yes.
And so the permit is issued in the person's name. The person who has the disability is issued in their name?
Well, it will be issued in their name, but the vehicle number attached to it.
Okay.
So you have to be on the vehicle and say, okay, you're allowed to park up in these areas. So if you display it also, you can get charged for it also. You understand me? You have to display it. So if you park up there and you come and tell the officer, but I pick up this fellow here because he can walk. But I'm not seeing a permit to say that, okay, you're allowed to park up here. But look it down in the glove compartment. It's like a taxi badge. You have you have to get your taxi displayed at all times to show that, yes, I am a taxi driver.
And you know, you just touched on something there that is I'm now thinking of. In the event, let's say a driver does not, or somebody does not have a permit, a disability permit, and let's say is a taxi driver, and they have to pick up somebody and they realize that the person has a disability, and they're going to the supermarket, for instance, and the person says, wait for me here, just going to pick up a few things inside, you know, with a walking, you know, walking aid. So they're waiting there for them. Is a hired taxi, but they don't have a permit. How does that work out? Would that person be charged? Would they have to be to produce a permit? Remember, the person with the disability does not have a permit, nor does the taxi driver. How does that work out?
Well, again, this is question of the police. It would be highly irrational or unreasonable for me as an officer that see a driver or a taxi driver waiting there and say, okay, officer, I'm just waiting on this guy, this woman, she's disabled. Where is the person? Then the supermarket, they're coming out. If you want to carry and show where the person is. So if you show me that, how would I going to look to see I give you a ticket still for that? You know, the most I could do is, okay, don't park up here, park up this way, or make the block and come back. So by the time you come back, you could come back, pick them up and go. Because in some cases, according to where you're parked, it could cause an unnecessary obstruction. So instead of waiting there 5-10 minutes, I prefer you make a block and come back around and pick up that person instead of waiting there. If you know they're coming now, whilst you're waiting, the police comes now, the person's coming right there, they're coming right there then. Then you could say, okay, no problem. See how fast you can make it.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that it really is up to the discretion of the officer. And, you know, sometimes you just have to have a good soul and you know, but then again, you know, sometimes it's a catch-22. It really is between a rock and a hard place, because there could be some people who just trying to beat the system. But here you are trying to facilitate that type of thing. So I'm hoping that, you know, we could strike a balance somewhere, but pay specific attention, because for me it's a pet peeve. It really irks me to see somebody without a disability occupying a space because I've seen people in the same supermarket. I'm coming out of the supermarket and I'm seeing a person driving a vehicle who has a disability, and they can't park, and they're frustrated because they can't put the kind of regular park. They wouldn't be able to open the door wide enough to get out because they have this disability. And here is somebody who is well able-bodied, thinking, well, there's a parking spot here, nobody parking here, so let me just take a chance.
Highly unreasonable.
Highly unreasonable and inconvenient to the person who actually needs to use it. There is, let's talk about, in terms of the road-worthy vehicles, is that part of the traffic violation and demerit point system as well, if your vehicle is roadworthy?
Yes, it is.
Right.
Yes,
so
it is.
in the instance of, what are some of the things that will render your vehicle not worthy for the road?
Tires, defective side view mirrors, defective windscreen, defective headlights, taillights, all those are defects in a vehicle, and you can get charged for those with demerit points also, with demerit points.
Right. And, it goes the same for personal and company vehicles.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right. And in the case of the company vehicles, they are responsible for ensuring that their vehicles are up to scratch. So let's say, for instance, I'm working for a big company, right? And I am the driver. But maybe the taillight, let me say something simple. I don't know if a taillight is something simple. Well, let's say the taillight is out and I'm driving and I get pulled over and I'm issued a ticket. The responsibility, is the onus on me want to say, well, I'm not driving this vehicle, or if I do drive the vehicle and the ticket is issued, I take it into the company and say, hey, you only have a ticket to pay here and we need to fix this. How does that work for the system?
All right. In the case of company vehicles, it all boils down to negligence. Because if you're driving a company vehicle, I would assume, or at least believe, you would check the vehicle before you drive it and go. If you're working for a company, boss, the tire go there, man, hello, you working? Go down the road. If you got ticket, well, boss, I got ticket for the same tire I spoke to you about. Here, the company's supposed to pay it. But if it's on your behalf, you're negligent on your behalf, you got ticket, well, so it's you wrong to break the traffic light,
But does it also attract demerit points?
Yes, it does.
So the demerit points will go on the...
So that is the how should I put this? Although the company will pay the ticket, but the points is coming off of your license. So that's why it's wise, just do the correct thing. The company will pay, but you still paying also.
Because you have points on
you have points on your license. It's not to say that they're going to charge the company. They're charging the driver, not the company, with the points.
Right. So you have to do a thorough checks and balances to ensure that you're in a good place and you're driving a vehicle that is roadworthy. So, for those of you who are drivers for companies, make sure that you do your inspection on your vehicle. And if you're not comfortable, of course, speak with your supervisor, managers, line managers, or whomever is responsible for the maintenance of the vehicle. Because at the end of the day, you heard it here on Tobago Updates Television that you can attract demerit points on your license. What are some of the other things that we need to be aware of in terms of traffic violations, the fines, demerit points, as it were, in this period now? Especially heading into the Christmas season where, everybody on the road are trying to get things done.
All right. If I could go back a bit first, just a point, to clear up the notion, if you're involved in a road traffic accident and you have 24 hours in which to report the accident, I'm seeing a lot of persons come and say, 2 days after, well, boss, I say I had 24 hours. No, road traffic accidents has been deemed crime scene. So you have to report it as soon as practicable. If you're hospitalized, that's different. If you go on the ferry, as soon as you reach on to Trinidad, report it. So you don't want to at least lose the boat as the case if you have business in Trinidad. But you have to report it as soon as practicable. Now come back on course now with the point system and the offenses that you could... Well, the thing about it is this now. Around this Christmas season, as I said, everybody is going for 10 seconds to go right there. And the record will be working. Now, with the record now, you wouldn't get a ticket, you wouldn't incur any demerit points, but you would get your vehicle wrecked and you have to pay $500 to get back your vehicle. For each day that vehicle stays in the police custody, an extra $200 goes onto that $500. And in some cases, their vehicle will get damaged while it's being wrecked. The law covers that also. So you have a choice: park up properly, do your business, or park up indiscriminately. Police take your vehicle, you may get damaged, you don't know, you still have to pay a fine, $500. So that covers everything for the Christmas, because you know around this Christmas season, parking will be hard, and everybody believe, see me, I'm going to take a chance and park up here. And for the last week, I think, 5 persons came, officer, I come to report somebody stole my car. No, sir, your car was wrecked. It's right there.
That was, it really is. We have to be a little bit more responsible in the way we do things. And as you mentioned, heading into the Christmas season where everybody wants to get something quick, and just running right there to grab a roll of ribbon or a string of lights, and they just park their cars indiscriminately. So, we're hoping that, we can do the responsible thing and consider the other person. In fact, consider the law. How about that? Consider the law, and do what is right. In closing, what are your closing thoughts that you want to share with our viewers?
Well, I would say, 'tis the season to be joyful. And let us all be joyful, please. Let us drive safely on the nation roads, because now, during the Christmas season, school is out, more traffic on the road. Park responsibly, drive responsibly, put on your seatbelt, save lives. And let all of us have a good, safe, healthy Christmas.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we've been speaking with Corporal Carva Vincent of the TTPS, bringing information to us as it relates to traffic violations, the fines that can be incurred, and also the demerit points. Recently, we heard that there's a reduction in the fines and demerit points, but it does not mean that you can be reckless on our nation's roads. You must be responsible. And staying on the TTPS for further information on anything as it relates to your communities, policing, and any information you'd like to get, the Shervan Road Police Station is hosting a town meeting this evening, Thursday, 21st November from 7 p.m. at the Blackrock Community Center. All are invited. If you live in the environment of Blackrock, Plymouth, that entire area there, or anywhere, as a matter of fact, if you want to have engagement with the police, the Shervan Road Police Station, they are hosting a town meeting this evening from 7 p.m. at the Blackrock Community Center. All are invited. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have to go for a short break before we continue conversations in studio, and we do hope that you could stay with us. But in the meantime, we invite you to help us share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.